Kelly Rossman-McKinney, the founder of the Rossman Group, is on the other end of our line. She is entrenched here in Lansing with the candidates and issues management and public relations. Good morning to you.
Well, hi there. How are you, Michael Patrick?
Am I wrong about that Rick Snyder commercial? Have you seen it? One chance where at the end there's creepy music and a strange, he looks like a vampire kind of.
I have seen it, and I'm so glad to hear that you have the same reaction I do.
You did too.
I look at it and go, what is that?
Hey, but you know what, Kelly and MPS, we're talking about it, right? Maybe that's what Rick Snyder wants.
Yeah, it's
stir
got this
things up.
strange dramatic music around them.
We're not talking about any other ads.
I was just going to say, what a wild weekend we are going to have. What a horse race, both in the Democratic and Republican primaries. Neat.
Yeah, I thought, by the way, and I know you've probably seen them all, that for what it's worth, Attorney General Mike Cox's television spots were pretty darn good.
Oh, they definitely are. And, in fact, you know, we do this survey every month with the folks who are in the lobby guides, really the Capitol insiders.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they didn't predict Mike Cox will win the primary, they definitely ranked his ads the best.
Yeah, they're very effective and they're powerful. But for what it's worth, it's a dead heat now. Snyder, Cox, and Hoekstra. Mike Bouchard's still back there with 10%. I still can't really figure out why he can't get any traction. And he's a very appealing fella. And it looks like he's going to be a distant fourth, and then Tom George down there at 1%. But what do you think about the Democratic primary? Do you buy this 8-point lead for Verge Bernero?
Ooh, do I buy it? Well, first of all, it's always important to remember what a survey is, and it is a snapshot of a moment in time. Do I think that Verge has gained ground? Absolutely. You know, the undecideds in the Democratic Party have been in the 40 to 50% range. They're only now starting to lean one way or the other. So it'll be really interesting. Now, statistically, and I didn't look at what the statistic break was in terms of the margin of error, but if it was a plus or minus 4% and a quote-unquote 8% lead, still is a statistical dead heat. You've got a 4% or more margin. I don't know what the margin was. But what will be interesting is, okay, how did the absentee voters vote? Because most of them have turned their ballots in already. And there's a lot of conversation among folks here in Lansing about the possibility of Democrats actually crossing over and voting in the Republican primary and voting for Snyder. And what that does to the Democratic primary will be very interesting.
Crossing over because they actually believe in Snyder, or crossing over to make mischief?
Well, actually there are three options, and I'm not sure which one is the more driving option. One is crossing over because they believe in Snyder, but frankly, if you believe in Snyder and you're a Democrat, you really should be voting for Andy Dillon. Number two, the causing mischief in the Republican Party is always a heck of an incentive. Number three is, in some cases, the Republican primary in some districts is really where all the action is. I live in Delta Township, for example, and there's a lot of action in the state rep district, both on the Dem and Republican side, but it used to be a very traditional Republican seat, and so really whoever won the Republican primary would be the candidate. So if there wasn't a race anywhere else that you cared about, you crossed over and you voted in the race that really mattered in your community.
Because
so it could be very interesting.
You can only vote on one side of the primary. You can't split your local state rep and your governor vote. And do you think there's a possibility we could have some candidates asking for a recount after the primary election if the vote is very, very close?
I would assume if it is very, very close that there's a possibility of a recount. I'm trying to remember. I know there was one when Diane Byram and Mike Rogers were running against each other for Congress. Now, that was in the general election. I don't know. It depends on how close it is. I'm not close enough to sort of the inner workings like that to know what's your breaking point. Is it a vote of precinct? who knows?
You know, Kelly, with so much interest in this, I mean, so many different facets to this campaign, why do you figure the at least expected voter turnout come next Tuesday will not be any higher than some are projecting?
Well, that's a really good question, and I think there's an awful lot of voter apathy out
Still,
there.
you really think so? Still,
I really do, and I think part of it is as much as we're engaged in the primary. You know, this is, and Michael Patrick, you use this as one of your slogans. You know, you're part of a political family here in Lansing. A lot of people really could care less. They're not paying a lot of attention to it, and none of the candidates has really inspired them.
That's going to be the secret of it all. Who can inspire people? And if they haven't done it yet, I don't think they're going to do it by, Tuesday. Do you? Kelly Rossman-McKinney, the founder of the Rossman Group, will talk again before Tuesday's primary.